Oh, hey, Chris.
Idle thumbs. Games, video 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 games, video. Video games.
It's May 22nd, 2013.
This is Idle Thumbs 107. I'm Chris Remo.
I'm Jake Rodkin.
I'm Nick Brecken.
And
we are joined by Ryan Davis.
Hi, Ryan Davis from the Giant Podcast.
Hi there,
Hey,
Ryan.
man.
Hello, guys.
Thanks for coming on.
This is weird. No headphones. I'm so used to podcasting in my own head.
Yeah.
Oh, we don't have that, so that way when the mixer goes apeshit, we don't know that we lost an entire episode. That's our plan.
Isn't that
bad.
the best? Isn't losing a whole podcast?
Yeah, we lost.
We love it.
We lost the whole episode like 4 weeks ago or so. It was shit. It was a really good episode.
It was, actually.
Oh, they always
It was
are.
a really good one.
Yeah.
We
They
actually
always
spent a
are.
lot of time talking about the new Xbox, which is
Yeah, which is so weird. Like, we never
talk about that shit.
Yeah.
And
We finally had one that was like, hey, Idle Thumbs, it's topical and new. Oh, no, never mind.
sorry.
We recorded this. This is about some bullshit, like some 18-year-old games and like some nonsense.
Yeah.
Well, full disclosure, I have no idea what you guys talk about on this podcast anyway, so...
Nobody does.
No.
There's some sort of idea that we talk about video games, but lately it's not really. I don't know.
Give me the pitch. How do you sell Idle Thumbs to
We
podcast
don't. That's
advertisers?
never a thing that's
Idle
happened.
Thumbs is a weekly video game podcast off the cuff, no Skype. What was that was
Giving it to you raw.
Yeah, it is basically that.
our
yeah.
stupid description when we launched the podcast was
Yeah,
something
like 5 years ago.
Idle Thumbs casts its pod into your face every week.
Yeah.
Wasn't that
It's
the
the
best when
least
you just like
actionable.
offhandedly write your iTunes description?
Yeah,
that's
like,
why
just
it's locked
sticks
in for
with
the
you
rest
for
fart it
half
out
a-
and then you
yeah,
forget
yeah.
about it
half a
because you
decade
never
now.
see it
Well,
again.
they have no rep to take care of that stuff. That just goes and it's gone forever until you.
You put it into your RSS feed, it's just sitting there, and then you forget about
Yeah.
it, and then every once in a while it comes and you're like, oh god, this horrible copy I wrote
Yeah.
So
in the middle of the night.
It probably still is all that bullshit. I think our current copy is like 4 friends with careers in the video game industry discuss the latest whatever.
And now they're not friends anymore. Careers, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
It's a disaster.
Yeah. Do we want to talk about Xboxes? You've probably been talking about Xboxes for your whole life. So
I've been talking. Yeah,
talk about something else for a second.
I've been talking about the Xbox
I actually
One.
don't know very much about it. Like, what, the original Xbox?
We've had that
Dishonored
conversation
Xbox.
as well too. No, they are.
You know nothing about it? You don't even know that it's named Xbox One?
It's called Xbox One?
Yes.
This is incredible.
I love this. I'm getting
is
just
like-
real time
I know.
reactions. So, what do you think of that name? I shit you not. That is what it's called.
God, so
I'm sorry.
Oh, this is so
I can
good.
curse
we
here,
were,
right?
we were going to talk. We talked at lunch today about how we could talk
Yeah.
about how it's Happy Dishonored Xbox One announcement, and
Right.
because
Because
today is the day that the Xbox One was announced, but it's also
Is it the word one or the number
Yeah,
one?
yeah,
it's the
O
word
O-N-E.
one.
All right, weird.
the way the keynote went down. The guy was like, "One place for all your da-da-da, one solution for da-da-da-da, announcing Xbox One," and people were like, "Okay, it's cool." You can't have a modern console announcement without its name being fucking bonkers. Apparently,
So that's like when I remember when there was the actual Xbox One and then PS2, and then it was like, all right, PS3 is coming, and Microsoft is like, we can't call this Xbox 2 because then we'll look like assholes because they have the PS3, Xbox 360. So now I guess they're perpetually one number behind PlayStation, so they always have to come up with some like wacky thing that just sidesteps the numbering issue. I guess.
My current theory on this one is, and they actually showed the box and controller and the new Kinect and all this stuff, and on the box itself, it only ever says Xbox. Like the badge on the system.
like
So it's a new
iPad
only
style.
says Xbox.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's like my theory is that yes, it is called the Xbox One, but within 18 months of that thing actually launching,
Just the
we're gonna be
monolithic.
calling it the Xbox.
It's just the brand. It's
Yeah.
just nothing but that.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Nintendo.
Yeah.
Okay.
But kind of the difference between the Apple comparison with the iPad though is that there is still like the 360 still exists.
right.
Like
That's
with Apple, they always just like almost immediately retire
That old
the-
shit is bullshit now.
their old stuff. So it's not there isn't that brand confusion in
Right.
like the new marketplace, but.
It's gonna be so weird when a mom goes in and says, "I want to buy an Xbox," and they say, "Which Xbox?" And then they're like, "Xbox One or Xbox 360?" And she's just gonna
one
assume...
sounds old. That sounds
Yeah, exactly.
old.
Oh, well, 360 is so much cheaper.
Yeah.
It's got more numbers in
Right,
it.
it's like,
I'd
what?
be an idiot not to get this one.
It doesn't look like a weird Tron VCR.
Right.
I really like the look of the new
It does
Xbox.
look like-
I
The
actually
internet-
haven't seen it. I'm going to find it on my phone.
The
right
internet
now.
was mad at it, but I thought it looked badass.
Someone actually said it looks like a VCR. I'm like, yeah, like a really dope VCR. Like, I'm into that.
It looks like a thing.
As a VCR owner.
It looks like a thing that I would spend way more money than I probably should to put on an entertainment center shelf, and then occasionally actually polish it, and then feel bad about myself for polishing it.
Yeah, it's got maybe a certain, I don't know, 3DO vibe.
Yeah, but it's like whatever.
Yeah.
It's retrofuturism.
Yeah, it looks like something that would have been set decor
Whoa.
in the promo video for the
actually-
the Random Access Memories video. What?
reenacting
We've got
a live
this
stream
raw.
for
I love
Chris.
these raw reactions
Chris
here we're
just-
getting from Chris.
Oh,
That's
cool! It's an
That's
Xbox.
No, that's actually awesome looking. It looks
it's-
like it looks like a Laserdisc player or like a
Yeah, it looks like- yeah.
like a
Exactly.
high-end
Like a
stereo
Betamax or
receiver or something.
something.
Like
Yeah.
some like faceless thing you have in
so
your
premium.
entertainment center. That right. That's like that would cost like $2,000 amongst your like four other boxes that all
signal
look,
massager
that all
or
look
something.
equally nondescript. You know, that's actually really interesting because it seems like Microsoft, their whole jam right now is to try and just be your living room thing. I mean, I wonder if that's a deliberate choice to be
yeah,
sure.
this
Okay, so
nondescript,
you don't know-
high-end looking living
You don't
room
know anything
box.
about what the Xbox One does, but it has. Oh, you know about the one thing
It
they
plays
talked
video
about.
games.
Well, that's actually surprising.
We don't care
given
about that.
Microsoft's
Actually,
focus.
they
right?
barely talked about that. So that's
The first like half hour of the presentation, like, so anyway, show me music, video games, and like the whole deal is that it's running a bunch of different apps simultaneously, so you can multitask between
Yeah.
the different media layers.
Yeah.
But yeah, its whole deal is the TV pass through thing where you know about this, I think, Chris, because we were talking. That was the one thing we talked about today, where you plug HDMI into the back that is from your cable box or from your dish or whatever. The Xbox reads that and then outputs it to your TV through the Xbox's software layer. So your friend notification pop-ups happen, but then also weird shit like real-time sidebars of Banana's stuff can pop up and stuff.
Could you plug your like PS4 into that and playing a PS4
so we actually
game?
we started
and then-
theorizing about
Yeah?
this because the Xbox One has no backwards compatibility. So
Oh, see, it's,
none of your 360 games are gonna work on
Yeah.
it. But we started thinking, what if? Because it has this. It seems like it has this HDMI pass through thing. So
Yeah.
there's two HDMI ports on the back,
Yeah.
one in, one out. So like the application that they were suggesting is like, oh yeah, your cable box, you plug that into here, and then you get all this additional fun time information.
Right.
Just weird stuff there. But we were thinking, what if, without that backwards compatibility, what if I just plugged my 360 into that
Right.
and then just use that as the pass through?
Could you
I don't know why that
daisy
wouldn't work.
chain like additional Xbox One, like 18 Xbox Ones all into each other?
The dream
God.
or a cell processor
Oh, yeah.
finally
Yeah, right.
realized.
That's the thing that I was wondering about, and I don't know if you would know this better than me, but I
Wait, can
imagine
you do
would.
that? I wanna know if you can do
the,
that.
The thing that I was wondering about is you're passing an HDMI signal that is coming off a cable box into an Xbox out to a TV. That seems to completely circumvent the point of HDCP. Right, which is you can't do pass-throughs to capture devices and stuff.
Oh,
and I
right.
asked,
But there's no HDCP on like broadcast signals.
is there not? I mean, coming off, I always thought this stuff coming
so
off
you
your
can't
cable
do
box.
this shit with the other consoles then.
But that's the question: is does this thing? Is it HDCP agnostic enough that you could just grossly chain 16 Xbox Ones together and then say, Xbox One, show me TV, and it goes, ooh, and just ripples down 30 units until you finally get to your horribly digitally degraded broadcast? as like 30 Kinects all hear your voice.
We are Xbox One.
That would be way more awesome. But the way that my understanding of it is that like even on the 360 right now, there's like different layers of HDCP. Like it knows if you're playing a game that okay, I don't need to protect this, but if something's coming off of the DVD or God forbid your HD DVD,
right? But
drive.
the stuff coming in through the live TV signal, it probably doesn't do a lot to that because it can't mess with it because it doesn't know if it's getting something off of a dish, if it's getting something off of a cable box, if it's getting something off of a HD antenna.
It would probably know that.
It would know.
It would probably know. I mean, it's gonna be passing that signal through the HDMI anyway.
Okay, so therefore it would know potentially if it's getting stuff off of a 360, which would mean someone could make Xbox One enhanced sidebar content for a 360 game.
Maybe.
So that has to happen.
Okay, I'll get on that.
Ryan,
Get me Don Patrick on the phone.
This is so the. Xbox
I mean,
One
what's a bummer is that like this is a closed system. It's a closed traditional video game console, so that shit's not going to happen.
No.
Well,
it's not.
so actually, one of the things that they were talking about. So they
Wii
had,
U detected.
They did this. They did. No, the Wii U's never been detected. Come on. So they had this hour-long, TV presentation that they did that
Right, the televised
Jake,
spectacular.
is what you saw. And then, like, I think it was like a...
Is that what the press conference was?
Yeah, it was
maybe
an hour-long TV.
Maybe like a
broadcast
half hour after that, they did only on Twitch, they streamed out this, what they called a architecture panel. Where they had Larry Herb interviewing a bunch of engineers and stuff from Microsoft. Dan Greenewalt from Turn 10 was there. And they kind of talked a little bit more specifically about some of the technology stuff because they touched like super broadly. I think it was Mark Whitten from Xbox was talking about how there's like multiple OSs on this thing. There's like this Windows OS and then there's this Xbox OS. And they just kind of left it at that. And it didn't really make any sense. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? And what does any of that mean? Which they actually, on this other architecture panel, kind of touched on, like, we're talking about, like, multiple virtual machines inside the Xbox One so that they can dedicate, like, these resources to this kind of, like app-based, like,
So, like, the Skype stuff is running on, like, a Windows mobile layer or something like that?
It's Windows kernel, actually, is what they said.
Okay.
Like, they're talking, like, actual Windows technology in there. But the idea there is, like, it's like small multitasked apps versus the Xbox virtual machine, which is all about, kind of the single function, running a game.
Right. So this is the dream of the Dreamcast finally realized.
Yeah.
That's right. This is the Windows CE.
Except they have EA support this time. So unlike the Dreamcast. So they actually talked about, some of those, the layer stuff and made that stuff make some sense. And one of the things that they mentioned during that, I can't remember which engineer said it, but they basically said, they copped to, look, we can't predict like what the big hot social media app or whatever is going to be. Because that was kind of the problem with 360 with like their attempts at apps and stuff is that Microsoft was, building the Facebook app, the Twitter app, and they were all, kind of fucking garbage because of that. Because the people who really understood those services weren't the ones that were building the app for it. So the implication that was given during this talk is that they are going to try and open up these tools to the people that are running these services so that it's not going to be, wide open, but potentially, stuff that's more emergent as far as your web applications or whatever could make it on there. So
I wonder how much overlap there is between that and what game developers could use. Right? I mean, could like an independent game developer make, like, is this going to be the weird equivalent of like, do you guys remember back when Vista, when Microsoft was trying to promote the like Windows Vista casual games, and it was like, this is for where you want to make your Spider Solitaire clone or whatever. Like, I don't know. Is this like where you put your weird like Facebook Farmville game? Like on this?
It seems like it's more just for social services.
I know,
and
but
stuff
like, how
that.
do you? Is that like? Do they just have to approve or not approve thing? Like, how can anyone submit an app to it, or do you have to be essentially like partnered with Microsoft? Like, what stops someone from writing a thing that is a game?
Does the RiffTrax commentary app show up that then, or like, what are the? I mean, yeah.
Well,
I mean, they probably haven't said this stuff yet.
They definitely did not dive that kind of deep during either of those presentations. But all this stuff is x86 architecture. Like these are both the PS4 and Xbox
Yeah, no, they're all
One.
just computers at this point.
They're friggin' PCs in one way or another. Although they talked a little bit about how they got the system on a chip built for the Xbox One, whatever the hell that means. I don't know, but potentially, if they're using that same
Play your
architecture,
Xbox One games with system on a chip for Xbox One.
if it's essentially a PC, and if one of the layers in this system is essentially a Windows kernel, like I could see it being relatively easy to get the work that you're doing elsewhere to work on these systems. But
Sure.
who's to say? I mean, don't forget that when the Xbox 360 launched, what their vision of Xbox Live Arcade at the time was, ports of old arcades.
Yeah,
It's like you're going to play HD Galaga, but then you're going to be able to unlock wheels in Need for Speed.
Right.
But even just like the scope and scale of what the games were, just completely ballooned
that was like
out of control.
120 meg limit, all that other stuff.
I remember
Oh,
it
yeah.
had a
It was like
50
40
meg.
Did it
megs.
start at
40
four-
megs was what it started as, I think.
Really, that was WiiWare.
Or 50 maybe,
was
then
like
it was like...
40 or 50. I think it might have
Yeah.
been
Oh,
50.
you're right. It was 50. Yeah.
It was right around there, not big, because I remember when Symphony of the Night.
Oh,
was
yeah.
like
That was the
100
big. That was,
Remember like
megabytes.
6 years ago when we were all talking about all this stuff? Crazy.
yeah.
Yep. It was a little.
No, that was like-
six.
that was
it was
like
like 7 or 8. Yeah.
7
8
years
years
ago.
ago.
Yeah, I got an HD TV from that Jay Allard presentation. Did
Oh,
you
man.
see that year?
Jay
one of
Allard.
those?
Oh, yeah.
Was Jay Allard in attendance at this event?
Oh, Jay Allard was not. I don't know if he was in attendance at this event, but yes, Jay Allard showed up on TV during the opening montage.
You can't hear the face I am making, the wild bug eyes.
Your
I'm
eyes are
making
no
right
longer
now.
in your head out of the excitement of seeing Allard.
Xbox Play
They're
Allard.
rolling around
God.
in my head
When
insanely. Yeah, so they had this opening little montage of a lot of just like quick talking heads, like Cliffy B shows up.
It was
for
like a
second.
Kickstarter video thing where like we're
Yes.
going to change the world by make Xbox games, like
Oh,
flipping
gross.
all over the,
The
place.
worst, yeah.
One of them was
Steven
And it was,
Spielberg.
it was like
Yeah.
no like lower thirds or anything, like no names on anything. It's just who you recognized.
Yeah.
It was some Microsoft employees, some game developers, and just long enough for the imagery to register in your mind. Jay Allard says like one word, and then he's gone. By the time that that synapses connect
You just
and
have-
figure it out, he's already gone. Wah!
the after image of his Phil Fish glasses faded away, and that was like,
It's Jay Allard. Holy shit, that was Jay Allard. The eyes of Allard.
yeah.
They were upon us.
I missed the first like 20 minutes of the stream, and I just saw Twitter blow up saying Jay Allard, Jay Allard, Jay Allard, and I was like, what are they showing? Like library footage of old Xbox launches? No way. New Allard. I was so
Yeah.
happy to get an Allard update.
Did he
Current
look? What did he look like?
Weird.
You look like Jay Allard. You like little stuff.
Yeah, but I mean that has meant different things over the years.
Right, but it looked like the extrapolation of HD
Cool
era
Jay
new
Allard,
Xbox
yeah,
experience
yeah.
Jay Allard. Like he's still.
It's like if Jay Allard did a Kickstarter.
Right.
That's
Sure.
basically what he would look like.
I can see
had
that.
sort of been hypothesizing that after Jay Allard stepped out of the Xbox Live and Zune experience, that he would
Yeah.
sort of start going feral again, like that he would sort of like the slightly frumpy polo shirts would come back, like the balding head stubble would come back, but then I wondered if maybe that is like if he's like finally I'm out of the spotlight of all this hip bullshit, I can go back to being the dork that I was on Xbox One, but then he got the call.
He's just bringing you back up to the big leagues,
One more
Jay.
show, Jay.
And he's just like, okay, fucking fine. And then all the the spotlights come on, and then 3 stylists come in, like, how you doing, Jay? Strap on just the weird, like, way
good to be
overly
back.
patterned shirt. Try 6 glasses pairs on.
Yeah, like if
And then he
if
just goes,
Jake wore fancy glasses, like that was kind of the Jay Allard look, I'd say.
I would have to wear like a leather jacket that was one size too small for me
Yeah.
as well,
Yeah.
and then make weird animalistic poses.
You'd have to
on
shave
stage.
all hair off your head, though, all of it.
Yeah.
But I think the classic Allard look, the
paunchy, like-
pre-makeover
yeah.
Allard, was
like original Xbox, like him smiling along like, with
Allard.
the big silver X original
yeah,
prototype.
like, but it was like those sport vest things, tech vests.
Yeah, sure.
A tech vest is, I feel, the clothing equivalent of original Allard,
That's fair.
OG Allard.
Yeah, no,
but that was honestly one of the most exciting things of the whole presentation was this much Jay
We're just like-
Allard.
How could it not be?
I could not do anything but make fun of you when you were there presenting all of this old Xbox shit. But now it's so good to see you.
An old friend.
It's like the oh god, have you guys I'm just ruining it. This film. Anyway, it's like the two. I just can't think of of the movie, but like it's like the
Let's workshop.
classic like nemesis, like war nemesis who face off so many times over the years, and then when they as they get older, like they're the only people who can relate to one another anymore.
Right.
It's every movie where there's two adversaries who exist for like 3 films.
Yeah.
Like the
No, I know
Duelist?
exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like that.
Yeah. I mean, The Duelist is a good example. Yeah, totally.
What it kind of this is.
But it's just Jay Allard and just
world.
fucking just shitty video game commentators.
It reminded me
that's the community of the people who actually one know who Jay Allard is, and 2 have talked about Jay Allard in their life ever.
And at this point,
you can finally just set aside your differences and appreciate him.
at this point, you also have to be kind of an old ass man to still be at this job and have professional memory of Jay Allard.
To have fondness for Allard. I mean,
Yeah.
this is a select group.
There's a questionable sports bar / restaurant in Petaluma where everyone goes on Thanksgiving break when in college and after.
Yep.
And you end up seeing all of your friends there. And my experience of seeing Jay Allard there is the flip side of many of my experiences, which was the people who used to just treat me like fucking shit in high school. Now we're all like 7, 8 years older, would show up and be the nicest guy in the world and be like, "Hey Jake, it's great to see you. It's so good to see you." And like occasionally be like, "I'm sorry that I was a fucking dick in high school." But I was that guy seeing Jay Allard in this video. And I'm like, "Oh, it's so I've missed you."
I'm so sorry for all the things I said before.
Yeah.
I was a different person. I was going through some shit.
You were a fucking weirdo, admittedly. Thanks for the HDTV. I felt at the time like I was taking advantage of you and
Kept
getting
wearing
better
sports
of you.
coats and hoodies at the same time.
Yeah.
He was choose one or the other, man. Come on.
He was just dressing as the formal version of every video game protagonist.
Remember when he sat down in the middle of the press conference so he could rap with you? He's like, "I got to get real with you guys. Let me sit down on the edge of this stage."
That's what I'm talking about. That's the Allard that I love. Where's that in the video game sphere right now?
It's like he's like trying to get through to at-risk youths or something. It's like I gotta sit down and just listen. I can talk on you guys' level, man. I know what hip hop and Tumblr,
What does that guy actually do? Does anyone know?
Smartphones. He's off on his own. He left the tribe a while ago. He was some weird Seattle-based emergent something.
Wait, so he's not at Microsoft anymore?
No, he hasn't been
at Microsoft for a while.
Yeah, a couple years.
And they still
We're
brought him
avid
into the
followers
video?
of
That's
Allard.
amazing.
Yeah.
Huh.
He was back so that this podcast would happen. I'd probably a previous podcast from earlier today.
Yeah, we did our live on giantbomb.com. We did our live stream of we streamed their stream and then also talked over it. So nothing better than a bunch of white dudes talking over a bunch of other white dudes talking.
So clearly what you need is an Xbox app that you plug anything into and is just overlaid with a bunch of stuff, fucking stupid video game
Now
nerds.
anyone can do
You guys just need to
what
get
we
all your
do.
like horrible gifs of like everyone dancing around and just have your Xbox One app where you just everything you're watching in your life is just you guys like dancing on top of it and yelling things.
That's the beauty of the Xbox One is that now anyone can be the idiot assholes
can we
that
get
are.
the Giant Bomb Vinny green
No,
screen
but we need-
experience?
yeah, exactly. You need
Windows kernel app that can just it detects what you're doing and just ruins it by bad breakdancing animations and stuff.
Well, see, we work for CBS, so no.
I feel like
that will never happen. That requires resources.
But you guys already do that stuff.
Oh, sure. I mean, for our own amusement, absolutely.
Sure.
But if we tried to tell someone like, "Hey, we want to do this thing," it's like, well, how do we make money off of that?
We want to make an Xbox One app that ruins CBS content.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Only CBS content.
We feel like we have internal API access for that stuff, so that's the stuff that's the easiest for us to ruin and devalue.
It's just, a soundboard of the most common Giant Bomb phrases, so you can just sit there yourself while you're watching The Price is Right and just
say Hot Scoops, The Wizard.
Right, exactly. Emails.
God damn it.
I was talking earlier today on Twitter. Someone brought up the phrase "video James" to me, and I squealed with delight at that because I hadn't heard it before. I'm like, "Oh, that's fantastic! I want to use that." And then
I was like, "Excuse me," like because literally, like the last couple weeks, we finally said, okay, we've been joking about this forever, but James Spafford, the next time you're on the podcast, you will be referred to as Video James Spafford. And this is happening. And then you're like, I look at Twitter, it's like Ryan Davis, like, best idea, Video James. Like, are you shitting me?
Like, that thing hadn't even come out. That wasn't even...
No, it's not even real.
It's not even real. Just psychically, I know how to rip off this podcast.
Yeah, I had prior art only in that there was a tweet about it like 4 days before your tweet about it.
I just somehow know inherently
Yeah.
how to fleece your best ideas. So thank you for continuing to have them.
Did you have any thoughts about any of the actual video games that were talked about at this video game console announcement?
There were so very few video games talked about at this thing.
There were a lot of
Wait, so
sports
what was the
games.
thing with the dog? The one thing that I saw on Twitter all day long was
So-
I like that the only
people
thing
were
that you're
talking
aware
about
of
a dog.
is the dog.
No, listen,
Yeah.
he's hitting the high points here. Allard, they had a bunch of they're talking about Call of Duty Ghosts.
What?
Yeah.
The new Call of Duty game is Call
It's
of
called
Duty
Call
Ghosts.
of Duty Ghosts?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that actually called that, or are you making
No,
or
no,
is that
Call
like,
of Duty Ghost, but that has made people start calling it Call of Duty Ghost Dog because the highlight of the Call of Duty Ghost presentation was the dog.
So, like, one of the things is, you will have a dog companion, and it's this, real brutal looking
Molyneux
German
Cruz.
Shepherd.
That dog will die, and people will cry.
I'm already
You're already crying, over the
tearing up,
like,
welling up over
yeah.
this dog. Beautiful. Reminds me of Lucky, my old dog growing up. That's true. I had a German Shepherd named Lucky. She was a beautiful dog. Bite the shit out of anyone that wasn't the family, though. She was
Hopefully
great.
you can Kinect scan your dog and put that in Call of Duty Ghost.
But what
or
was
just put home videos of your dog into the HDMI pass-through?
so they were showing a lot of like behind the scenes at Infinity Ward of a lot of people looking at computer screens and wireframe models of stuff. But the part that was so awesome was they were showing some of the mocap. And they mocapped a fucking dog.
Yeah, the dog.
And they show a dog wearing a mocap suit, like little dots on its dog head. Like, they fully, forget Capcom when they mocapped a horse for Onimusha 2.
Yeah.
They have
Dog
very
mocap.
detailed.
The question is when it stuck out its tongue were there two small dots for tongue cap.
But then they also showed like someone then manipulating the dog model in some
the
CAD
best-
thing,
that-
like moving the jaw up and down.
That
and,
turned into a GIF immediately, and that was the best thing in that thing because it had like the MTV documentary, like rapid rack zoom onto the dog's mouth right as the guy adjusted the rotate control on it. So that GIF of just like zoom in on a dog's mouth, man closes mouth or opens mouth.
Yeah.
Chris, you saying that they should use the HDMI pass-through to capture your dog, the thing that made me think of was put in every DVD and like Super 8 or Super 8, High 8, whatever HDC videotape that you have of your pets while you're playing Call of Duty Ghost. Your Xbox One will detect shots of the dog, capture the shots, and then when your animal companion in Ghost dies, it will have prepared and edited a slow motion montage of all animals that it's detected on your home video library to roll in slow motion.
just Ken Burns effect, just pan and zoom.
Yeah,
pan
I
and
will
zoom.
remember you.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, so when your dog in the game dies...
Sarah McLachlan starts
Yeah.
playing
You see
in
the
background.
ghosts of your old dogs.
Yeah, Call of Duty
Call of
Ghost.
Duty Ghost
but then
dog.
it just shows slow motion footage of your dog. It detects the object that your dog has caught and says,
Right.
"Oh, that's a good moment." It detects when your dog is sleeping. It's like, "That's great." Someone hugging a dog. It can surely, if the original Xbox 360 Kinect can detect two skeletons, this can detect a human holding a dog.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
Call of Duty Ghosts of your beloved pet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, what this needs to do, actually, this needs to be okay, so Kinect can already, like, show real-time video of what Kinect is looking at, and then isolate skeletons and, like, extract that stuff. So someone needs to make a game that combines, like, all three of these things, combines the, like, pass-through from, like, a lot. Okay, I don't know if you can output live video to an HDMI, but, like, if you connect the HDMI thing to an actual live video camera that, like, someone is holding, and then also have the Kinect, like, tracking your skeleton and, like, isolating you against separate live video background that's coming into the Xbox in real time, and then also overlay actual game shit being rendered by the game, you could just have the most insane, bonkers video game experience.
So you have someone off. Well, what you'd want to do instead of going through the pass-through is you'd have someone using the stupid Glass app, whatever stuff.
SmartGlass. How do you not know that? They said it a billion fucking times.
I know.
Can someone actually explain to me what SmartGlass is? I've heard the phrase.
It's just sort of.
I've like
it's an app.
searched on the internet and tried to find out what it is, and I can't figure it out.
The virtual remote for the underlying operating system for tablets and smartphones. So it's like you can control video playback when you're playing games,
Control video
game-related
playback
content.
on what?
on the TV. Like, you have remotes for your DVD on your phone, or like games can.
Oh.
put
SmartGlass is not like
content
a
on there.
physical device.
No,
it's just
an app. It's basically halfway between an app and some of the Wii U stuff.
It's their way of saying you can use your iPad without them having to actually say iPad out loud.
Yeah,
because otherwise they'd have to say with Microsoft Surface, and then they would be laughed off the stage. So
Right.
Yeah, so they say use SmartGlass app on all tablet platforms.
let's do
But it's just
iPad.
it's basically, I think, to do Microsoft's version of some of the Wii U tablet stuff. But
It's a lot of just kind of your basic, second screen experience stuff of
Yeah.
just additional
All right.
information, relevant.
But
stuff.
most phones and tablets have cameras, so you could be live streaming off of your SmartGlass app, connecting to the camera API, and then digitally editing a human being off of Kinect in there, but then also having sweet zombies showing up that you have to shoot by waving your arms around. That's pretty much the future of games.
Sounds like the future of games.
But then also,
finally zombies. You're onto something there.
also a television in the background can be detected, and it can motion match
can
actual
be
live television
superimposed
onto that
the
television.
television in the game. Everything in the game is just like weird superimpositions of stuff from your bedroom.
Yeah.
It's just like everything is just weirdly
Oh, that was the thing that I
there.
was wondering. I'm sure there's no API access for it, but you could conceivably have the TV stuff that's coming in just be rendered a texture in a video game. So you could have your cigar-smoking Space Marine sitting in a bar, and then whatever happens to just be on your TV tuners watching the day, just like, nothing but crap these days, and throws a cigarette at the screen. Except that what was actually up there is it just tuned to CVS off of your local Comcast subscription. You could do weird, horrible shit with
Yeah.
this console.
That would be
pretty
amazing. Pretty awesome. Like all the functionality they were showing was a lot of just like you're watching Star Trek, you can shrink it down using Kinect gestures, and then other stuff will show up in the margins. It's like, I can pin this Skype call into the corner while I'm playing the game.
I'm so excited.
Like a lot of side by side stuff, but not really a lot of integration. But that would be way more interesting.
It would be
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah, good weird though.
Yeah.
Especially if the channel happened to be showing an advertisement for the game. That
Well,
you're
you'd get into really weird places then where, like, the character is in, if you bought the Star Trek game and it's the J.J. Abrams Star Trek universe where they don't give a shit that there's Budweiser and Nokia and stuff, all the bars would just tune your Xbox to actual CBS or,
Right.
like...
Yeah.
Nope, CBS always, all the time.
Or just, like, if you're playing...
Any movie.
Like, like a Cartoon Network game, and then a character's watching TV and it just forces you to watch Cartoon Network inside of the game. That would probably never happen, but what if it did?
So I think probably one of the there's the Call of Duty Ghost stuff. Dude from EA.
EA man was there showing a lot of things.
Talked a lot about just sports in general.
It looked kind of like the pre-rendered stuff from the 360.
right.
Has someone done a side-by-side of that yet? I imagine
No, in
someone
fact,
has.
I called for that during our stream. I said I want to see a side by side of the Madden
You want to
pre-rendered
see
stuff.
rubber
like
mask guy in the
sweaty-
snow? Yeah,
sweaty snowman.
sweaty
Oh,
snow
yeah.
mask guy.
Compare that to what they're saying.
I call him
is
Sweaty
footage
Snowman.
now.
Classic 70s quarterback.
Yeah.
Which actually, I think they would probably actually line up pretty well. I think they're being a little bit more realistic about what that thing's going to be able to do this time around.
Yeah.
Which I think just
Well,
puts into
I saw
stark relief
Sony.
how out of control their
It's like
original 360.
Terrence Malick, but like gloved football player hand rubbing his hand through the grass.
Didn't Sony release like an image recently that was like character from PS3 versus
Yeah,
character
they
from
did.
Crazy One? And I couldn't.
had to really
I
look.
actually couldn't tell the
Yeah,
difference. And when I
yeah.
finally guessed which one was from the new one, it was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't even.
Yeah.
So I think but like aside from all that stuff, the craziest and the most just inscrutable thing that they showed games wise was from Remedy.
Max Payne
the Max
guys.
Payne, Alan Wake guys.
That's the one part that I haven't seen.
Oh, so I can't make any sense of what it actually is, but it's
What was the game called?
Quantum Break.
Okay.
Cool game.
First off, yeah,
Games.
like you say quantum, and that's already like white noise. You might as well put storm in the name. But like what it sounded like and what it looked like is some sort of like combination of television program and video game.
Wait,
like,
seriously?
Like live action, like filmed stuff, and then they
I
were
heard about
cutting
this.
to like.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was already
crazy-
thinking of Crazy Pass-Through. I was already. My brain was already jumping straight to like bonkers real
You are
time.
in the TV show. No, but
I started immediately thinking, and this is partially because I always think about this, and also partially because an EA dude had just been on stage. I started thinking like Majestic 2, like actually like taking the concepts of Majestic
Yeah.
for those who remember that, to the next level.
Where the faceplate of the Xbox One opens and a fax page comes out. Because it's actually got a thermal fax roller in there.
But there's like the footage they showed of both the live action stuff and the video game stuff, the polygonal stuff. Like the connection was impossible to make from what they were showing, because one of them seemed like the live action stuff. It just seemed like a TV show. Two people interacting. The conversation was kind of weird and sinister, but beyond that, it was just, a little girl talking to a grown woman, and then some more kind of supernatural stuff happening in the game. But if this means that Remedy is basically going to make a TV show, then I am completely on board.
I don't know what to make of that. That's super baffling.
That's the stuff that I like from Remedy the most. It's not the gameplay. It's their the way they can set a stage and not even really tell a story, but their world building. Let's say
that's fair.
The goofy.
Yeah, there's the TV game confluence was a crazy thing at this thing, because Spielberg also showed up and basically had a video saying, well, I don't really care to be here at this, but I'm happy to announce that I'm working on a Halo TV show that will be on the Xbox.
Yeah.
So it's all about weird shit.
I like that he said that he couldn't be there and offered up no reason why.
Yep, I can't.
You didn't say because I'm busy, making.
I just can't do it.
I just didn't want to.
Yeah.
This seems
Seattle's
like a terrible place to be, so I'm not going to be there.
I literally
However,
cannot be there. It's not possible.
Right.
Just I cannot. Yeah.
There are no Beatles showing up at this thing, so I won't be showing up either.
The universe will not allow my presence in this. What is that? What you're getting at, Jake?
No.
It is physically impossible for me to exist inside that room.
There's nothing inside of his being that will allow him to be there. Therefore, he cannot be there. Just
sure.
Yeah.
He couldn't possibly.
Spielberg's not shy. I mean, he showed up at Microsoft's E3 press conference when the Beatles Rock Band stuff was there.
True.
So
yeah, no, I mean,
as long as there's a Beatle there,
he likes video games purportedly.
he'll show up. I've seen him at E3. He's he shows
He
up.
made
at stuff.
Boom
Blocks, yeah.
Made boom blocks. He said, "Why do you throw blocks at stuff?" And then huge team of talented people at EA then actually made that happen.
Yeah.
Props to Joe Fielder. What's up?
I used to work with that guy.
Yeah, and he worked on boom blocks.
Yeah, I know.
The whole problem with the whole Xbox thing that now I'm going to be a butt is that I don't actually care about any of it, I think.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
I think that's the problem with all of that. We're like, okay, you're doing a bunch of crazy stuff that I do think is probably the pinnacle of home entertainment technology. Fuck off.
Yeah, that's kind of my perpetual state at this point.
I mean,
Which I guess just makes me an asshole, but I really just can't be
I'm
bothered.
interested in all of it,
but I mean,
Cable.
This
What?
this
Cool.
this presentation was not for the people in this room.
Yeah,
Right,
sure.
that
That's
was
true.
I looked at that and I said, Microsoft knows the Xbox audience, where they basically said, look, you can slide your basketball game out of the way and see your fantasy league. Look, EA is going to tell you a ton of shit. Look, a Halo TV show.
Yeah.
Call of Duty, yeah.
Yeah, it was Call of Duty, Halo, sports, and sports on television.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a dog jaw being rigged, which was the part, we were throwing two bones, which was the guy rigging the dog jaw in Maya and Jay Allard showing up for half a second. And those made me believe in an Xbox One, but it was a weird, thing.
I mean, you look at the Sony press conference when they revealed the PlayStation 4. Like they had an agenda that they had to lay out. They'd be like, look, we know that things have not been going as awesome as we'd like it to be. So this is our vision for this.
Right.
Like we have this very specific idea of what we want to accomplish with this system.
That also included Jonathan Blow will show up and play some flutes for you in the background, and then Media Molecule will have dancing puppets like that.
Right. Well, I mean,
they were going for a very specific crowd with that presentation.
They knew who they had to win over.
Yeah.
With that of like, all right, if we can get the lunatics who will get excited about Jonathan Blow games. And Media Molecule weirdness.
Sculpt the puppet show.
Then we can, work on the bigger stuff. Once we, get the people who will go and, excitedly try and tell their friends about it. Mm-hmm. That's their first step. Microsoft is in a stronger position, and I feel like a lot of what they were touching on at this press conference was
the biggest possible audience.
There's a lot of staying the course. It seemed like they have some new ideas of how that integrates into the system, but it is this was broadcast on TV. This was an hour-long televised special.
Right.
So
was it on CBS? What network was it on?
Oh,
that's gotta be weird if it's
Spike. Probably Spike.
Let's just say it was on Spike.
Let's say Spike.
Let's assume.
Probably Spike. Well, not
It was
G4.
essentially
Right.
on Spike,
It was not
Yeah.
on the Esquire network.
practically speaking.
God, G4. Yeah. Oh, Spike was the one that was TNN before.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
The national
Spike.
network.
Yeah.
Oh, was
Remember
it
when it was
originally
the Nashville network?
Yes, it was the Nashville network. Then it was the
Right.
national network. Then it was Spike.
And it
I love
always
that-
had Star Trek: The Next Generation reruns.
Yep. Yep. Forever and always.
God
The
bless it.
Nashville network to the national network is one of the funniest things ever to me. 'Cause it's like, how do we revitalize our brand? Oh, make it the absolute exact opposite of the thing. Like, oh, it's the network about one city, a specific. It's like everything embodied by this one. Sorry, no. Absolutely
states.
zero connection to any one specific place you could ever.
And then they're like, wait, we went way too broad. Make it about garbage.
What's a good name for a channel that has nonstop cops reruns on it?
I thought you were about to say Nonstop Cox. Also blurred, but present.
They're there, haunting, waiting for you, just beyond the
like a
mosaic.
ghost of your pet, long departed.
We should take a break for a second now
Yeah.
before we die.
Okay.
I know you can do like 4-hour podcast.
Yeah, let's keep.
marathons.
I've already podcasted for 3 hours today. Let's fucking keep doing this.
gonna-
Live streamed for like 2.
That's good.
Come on.
I'm glad to know that that's what you do.
It's endurance. This is how I win. It's not by any sort of particular craft. It's just that I can do it for longer.
Just keep talking for a day every day.
Yep.
Gross.
I guess that's why we're bad.
Yeah, that's why we suck. We'll be right back because we need it.
Video games.
God, this is hysterical. Doug just pasted this in Campfire. Apparently, people who have Xbox 360s and Kinects, their systems kept pausing and turning off and stuff because the people on the stream kept saying Xbox Live and Xbox and shit. There's like a
People kept
compilation
being
of all
like,
these.
Okay, Xbox,
tweets.
pause, play. Like they were sending commands to the demo unit, which is the hypothetical situation that you always joke about. Like
Yeah.
Right.
the audience that I always think about for the 360 and now the One is just college dudes, basically. But you know that there's college dudes that have 2 HD TVs, 2 Xboxes, like they've got the 2 lofted beds, one on each side, and then under each of them in their freshman dorm,
Yep.
they have 2 Xboxes. But now someone's going to be like, Xbox CBS. I'm only going to use CBS as the example when you're on here. Or like someone walks in and says, whatever, does Xbox turn on? And just like your whole room just fires up.
I remember
Gross.
like when early Kinect, when I had it in the living room, and I would be sitting there with my fiance and we're just having a conversation, and all of a sudden like Netflix would launch. And it was like, okay, what was the phrase that we just said that the Xbox thought, oh, he said Netflix. Okay, let's go.
Let's do this.
I don't know like why it stopped happening, but for a good 6 to 9 months, every once in a while we'd just be sitting in there, Xbox idling on in the
Just
background.
Arrested Development comes on.
Yeah, it was usually Netflix because what else do I have app-wise that's going to run on the fucking Xbox? But yeah, I imagine that was happening all over the goddamn place.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of tweets. There's a bunch of tweets about it. That awkward moment when an Xbox spokesman takes control of your Kinect with his voice commands and signs you out of the live stream.
God, you could,
Whenever he uses Kinect commands, my Kinect listens and turns off the stream. Go home, Kinect. You're drunk.
it would never get past cert, but you could make just the most meta ruining game with the new Xbox. That's all that I want to make now. I want to make a game that you're playing the game and then it says, what's the little snap command? What's the stupid sidebar thing called? Do you remember what it was?
It's the snap, I think is what they're calling
Yeah, like
it.
you could have a game where a character. Well, the thing about the Xbox One is that it memorizes different voice patterns so that it knows different people in your house. So that different people who wake up the Xbox, different stuff comes up on the homepage. Different.
Oh Jesus, that's
So like the games you were last playing, the music you were last listening
I
to,
don't like these
and
things.
yeah, it's fucking terrifying. And obviously the things you want to buy.
the bringing back the last thing that you were doing on the Xbox, that's.
It gets super scary.
I'm not saying I'm doing anything, but
Right.
The only scenario I see is the one where something horribly embarrassing comes up.
Because Internet Explorer is built in, which means whatever you were last browsing comes up. But it said fucking weird things like it notices that you pick up the game controller and then asks if you want to resume playing the game that you were last playing. But either way, sorry. The thing that was weird, the ultimate confluence thing that I want is the Xbox recognizes your voice. So the Xbox also presumably is recording all of this stuff because you know that unless you opt out, it's sending this stuff home. So you now want a game which records all of your Kinect commands and then uses them against you when you're playing the game. So you're in the middle of something and you just hear...
That's a Metal Gear thing, what you're describing.
Right, but when
is
you
a
say
Metal Gear boss...
Xbox turn off, but then the game just says Xbox turn on, or like it just says, oh wait, never mind. What, like if it can issue cancel command.
No, in the middle of a boss
you.
battle, as you're about to hit the final thing, Xbox turn off. Like, what? No!
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah, that is a total Kojima thing, where suddenly, like, your Xbox starts yelling at itself to tell it to do things that are
it would be really
surprising.
Good. Yeah. Seeing weird video
No
of
one's ever gonna
yourself
make
come
any
up
of this
halfway
stuff.
through a game.
Yeah, it's just,
of what you were doing
oh my
earlier.
God, just a crazy. Yeah, the game just draws from your entire anthology of
Right.
like
Actually,
everything it's ever seen and heard you
The
do.
Metal Gear thing is that a boss
And
would
everything
just be
you've ever
holding a
passed
mirror,
through.
and he would just hold it up to the screen, and you would suddenly, like, in weird 3D, because
Oh,
the Kinect
shit.
robot would go
Yeah, right.
and turn to rotate in time to match the Z depth of
Oh,
that.
that's terrifying.
You would see a reflection of yourself.
And then you'd see the murderer sneaking up
new
behind.
Kinect-
you.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God! Sorry.
The new Kinect doesn't move anymore.
Fuck, it's ruined.
It's well, they don't have to because they've got like higher res, like wider angle.
Right, but it being able to move is
Cameras
the
on there.
creepiest part of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, a character...
But
a
it will no longer bow to you. It is a disrespectful
It could
Kinect.
crop the image and pan.
A character in a game holding up a mirror and you seeing yourself, but then you seeing that it's spliced in a character on the couch or behind you, or like
a murderer.
you could do the horror movie thing, like the Scream era horror movie thing, where you suddenly cut the screen to black, and what looks like the reflection in the glass of your screen is there, but it's just a really deliberately faded out mirrored version of your living room. But you see another person there, and the lightning
murderer.
flashes for a second, and there's a murderer there, Twitter chillers. You could make the
Someone
best.
clarify.
I have
that
already
character
shit my
was.
pants.
Yeah.
No one's
it's
going to
pretty
make this
pants-fitting.
game, any of these
Preemptively.
games,
No,
but these are the
yeah.
games that the system demands to be made. The most abusive, just hardware abusive garbage is what would make me
Yeah.
buy 3 of these.
Well, actually, what
I
I
would
meant
give them to my friends.
when I first postulated that a murderer would appear, I actually meant the system would have just inadvertently saved your life by revealing the actual murderer in your apartment.
I thought you meant that it spawned. The
Yeah,
same
I
way,
know.
Like
The
when
same
you
way
play
Kinect
Kinect
does.
Party,
Yeah,
like you
yeah,
can
yeah.
have video recording
Yeah.
of yourself behind the couch.
Yeah,
Oh, seeing the actual murderer is way better.
yeah.
But that-
I don't know how you make that happen in a game. That's Majestic, like
Yeah.
18. That's
That's if
Majestic 3000. It's
that's if-
like they hire a murderer to come
Or
to your
Allard's
house.
one and only Zune phone goes. He's like, and then he gets a location, and he has to show up.
Allard is revealed. Oh, hi! They pasted Allard into this game.
No,
Hilarious.
I mean
Hello, Jake.
the real Allard. It's he just tells him you have 5 minutes to get to this house.
Yeah, I know.
He's just
Yeah.
he just runs as
But
fast
surely
as he
when
can.
you first see it, you assume it's just
yeah.
Allard has been composited.
I love this reality where Majestic was a smash hit, and
It can't be that much of a smash hit if one guy, Jay Allard, has to do all of the real life stuff himself.
Yeah, this is
that's definitely
that's just he won the contest for this year's. He gets to be the star of Majestic for this
That's
season.
true.
maybe
Yeah.
he won. He's the only one who actually completed Majestic 1. And now
that's what happens.
But for him, this
No,
is
when
his
you-
Majestic 2 experience is actually being like amortized out across all Xbox One customers, where he thinks that he has to go and kill everyone.
the prize for being the guy who gets to the middle of the Curiosity Cube is you get to be the secret murderer in the Xbox One Kinect game.
Peter Molyneux never stopped working for Microsoft.
Oh man.
I'd really like to see a horror game make good use of Kinect technology.
You could do really cheesy Scream-style postmodern stuff where, your play experience, like it would be Eternal Darkness style insanity effect garbage, but you could do insanity effect garbage that's hilarious when you spawn a murderer in your bedroom using your Kinect.
I think, handled correctly, the situation that you are pitching here would actually freak the shit out
The
of
thing
me.
that would make it fantastic is if you remember that TV projection tech that they were demoing?
The Illuma room.
Yeah. If the Illuma room was also just covertly running, so then
see, I didn't know about this
it could
either.
create the lightning flash that would happen
Yeah.
that would then change.
What is an aluminum?
Oh man, Sean showed this to me today. I had no idea that
It's a
existed.
Microsoft thing that uses basically
God, it's
like
good.
a reverse Kinect, where you plant a little projector and Kinect up behind your couch in your living room,
Okay.
and then it scans your room and figures out where your TV is, and then hooks up to your Xbox 360 and allows the game's universe to expand out into your living room.
Crazy.
So like the main game is on the screen, but
Yeah.
then like off-screen enemies that you could still kind of detect, instead of there being a little radar on screen, they would just be like 180 to 270 degree field of view projected out into
Crazy.
your living room. Where
The
you
effect
sort
was
of
almost
red
like
outlines of guys.
Right, it's almost like a wireframe. It's just showing like outlines of
No, I
objects,
understand.
but they were doing some cool things with it, like they had snow falling in a scene that would just sort of like collect on the floor, like it was
Crazy.
ridiculous.
Yeah, it was weird.
Just that, it's your peripheral vision, so it doesn't have to have that same level of clarity because it's not
Sure,
really where
right.
you're focusing. But
Yeah.
But man, a fucking horror game using
know.
all of this stuff in combination, so you just get a blip of a guy for a second in your room and then he goes away. It would be the best. You can do the best stuff.
Yeah.
oh god,
It's all basically that X-Files episode about gross flies,
Oh, also
and then
the
once
Kinect.
and then a fly walks across the TV screen, and you freak the fuck out.
The Kinect also knows which way you're looking, so it knows where to put it out of the corner of your eye, even if you're looking 90 degrees to your left.
it does know that.
I know.
if you-
It knows if you're smiling.
Yeah, right. So there was some weird shit where it was like it can tell your heartbeat.
Yeah,
They said
they were saying based on
it can tell your fucking pulse.
They said based on like micro changes in like.
Hey Jake,
skin
did you
tone.
hear about how the Kinect team is working with Boston Dynamics on the,
I know!
next, on the next Big Dog?
Yeah, the
Did you
thing
hear
that
about
shows
how
up in that horror
happened?
game is the fucking Petman, and then you turn around and he is there because he was summoned by your Xbox.
God,
and he knows the way.
The Petman really also is like an 80s horror series villain.
Right.
A recurring
He's the
like
Terminator, Chris.
Petman 8 is like, you know, it went off the
We went
rails.
to break and then we came back talking about Xbox haunting again. I was hoping that we would be done, but there's this well.
It just keeps going.
It keeps fucking going, yeah.
We
I just
we
think
can call
like
it.
think of something like Slender using some of that Kinect, kind of ARG experience.
Here's the worst thing. I know
Okay.
nothing about Slender.
I don't either.
You should check it out.
Okay.
It's fucking terrifying.
I've heard
It's
that.
super lo-fi and just so effective.
It's on the list of games that we are insulting our readers by not playing after they tell us to play repeatedly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The horror game is a unique taste, I think. So I don't fault anyone for not playing horror games.
I like horror games a lot. I just don't play enough of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same.
It's. Ryan, did you play like Amnesia?
Yeah, I love
That game was
Amnesia.
amazing.
Then the Slender, I think hits a lot of the same kind of nerves.
Miasmata is kind of a horror game. Not in the same like relentless way that Amnesia or something is, but
Yeah.
it's pretty tense. It's pretty nerve-wracking.
Yeah. Slender is just you are walking around the woods you have like no point of reference or anything, and you're just trying to collect these notes, the 8 notes of Slender Man. The thing is that
Slenderman?
yes, Bill Slenderman.
Okay.
But
He left these notes.
anytime
Jake's favorite joke has been
Whatever, fuck off.
anytime you see the Slender Man, it starts doing like you kind of start going crazy and your vision starts blurring. You start hearing crazy sounds, and so it's anytime you see him, you just want to run away as fast as you can. But it does the like when you're walking at normal pace, you have a flashlight up so you can actually see around these dark woods. But to run, you have to like put the flashlight down and sprint, so you can't see what's
Right.
in front of you as you're running.
I love
so it's a lot of
that.
this like putting the flashlight up and then seeing Slender Man in front of you, going, "Oh Jesus fucking Christ!" and then turning around and sprinting as fast as you
Yeah,
can.
This seems very similar to Amnesia.
that
then,
sounds
where
like,
it's like
that sounds like a lot of similar.
using really, really heavy game systems to enforce the rules of horror movies, basically.
Yeah.
With
Yeah, that stuff is great. I love that kind
the
of
Amnesia,
concept in
like
general.
light keeps you sane, but light draws monsters. But looking at monsters makes you insane, so you end up finding yourself just turning into a corner and hiding. Is like the best confluence of game systems to make you do a certain thing.
Yeah, it's very much like that, but it's it's super indie, much smaller in scope and scale than Amnesia. But if you liked Amnesia, you should check out
Sweet.
Slender Man.
I
Or
played
Slender.
I played the first hour of Metro Last Light yesterday, and that have you played that? Did you play Metro 2033?
I played a little bit of Metro 2033.
I played a
have
bunch
Last
of 2033.
Light.
And I played like
awesome atmosphere.
that's
Yeah.
fantastic atmosphere. I played like 45 minutes maybe of the new one
Of
today.
Last Light? Okay, then
Yeah.
you're not much.
I mean, you know how far I am, and you saw me.
I probably am like a half hour ahead of you. It seems like, but I don't have a lot to say about it because I just started it, and not
I
enough
didn't
people
play
have,
more of
not
it,
enough
so I can
people
talk
have
about
played
it
it.
next
But
week,
God, I don't even know what to say. Fuck, I thought that I had a lot of stuff to say, and I do, but it's all weird because I didn't play Metro 2033, so I don't know
Right.
what these games are.
yeah.
But I was expecting something closer to Stalker, I guess. Even though Chris, you told me that it was. Sorry, we should back up. Metro Last Light is a first-person shooter, kind of, but also has a lot of.
It's definitely a first-person shooter.
It's a first-person shooter, but it's very exploration and story-heavy. It's really detail-focused. It seems, at least in the first hour, based on this like Russian novel, I think. Mm-hmm. It's a surprise. It's a post-apocalyptic Russian first-person game. Though there's so.
But Moscow instead of Chernobyl. So,
yeah.
Yeah, and in fact, the original game was developed by a bunch of guys who broke off from the Stalker team.
Okay.
But like where Stalker is super open-ended, like really, really simulational, really exploration-driven.
This seems
the
like
Metro
a very
games are much
experience.
more guided, yeah, for sure. So they're much more about like low-level fidelity.
Yeah.
Whereas Stalker is like the low-level fidelity is pretty rough, but like the broad things are like extremely detailed.
Metro Last Light, the amount that I've played so far is this is weird because I have no idea what Half-Life 3 would be.
It's funny. I had the same reaction though when I saw Chris playing it. I was like, "This feels very Half-Life."
My wish for Half-Life 3 is actually being quelled by playing Metro
really
Last Light because it's a very guided first-person experience, which is the thing that I actually like. Just because the amount of presentation that goes on is really high, and the amount of I like stories in first person. Like it's a thing that I really like. But this game has a lot of the weird, clearly made by Eastern Europe simulation elements inside of it, where like it has the thing that. I remember the one thing that stuck out, Chris, when you told me about Metro 2033 is that in this post-apocalyptic society, there's no currency system except high-grade ammunition. So
I love that
when
system
you
so
start
much.
the game, you're given 200 military-grade bullets, which you can then use to buy guns, to buy food and supplies, but also if you're in a fucked situation, you can load your gun full of money and just shoot it into guys to live, which is a crazy thing. And it seems that seems like something that would be in Borderlands or something, like in some. Or Bulletstorm, like it seems like the thing that would be in one of the super bombastic shooters, but
it has a totally different tone in those games.
It's the most understated thing in these games, where you're just like, okay.
Whereas in those games, your gun would actually make like a cash register sound as like the spent shells fly out of it.
You would actually see little gold coins,
and then your guy would fucking
flying out of your gun,
like scream something about how I'm rich, bitch, or something. Whereas in this game. It's horrible. You like
it feels like systemized desperation. Where
exactly,
you're just like,
it's totally desperate.
I have so little here that I'm actually just piddling away my ability to buy food and ammunition to stay alive for a second.
Yeah,
but I love that the other option is like hand packed shells that kind of don't work half the time.
Yeah,
oh yeah, it's great.
It's cool, and it also has.
I mean, as obvious from our never ending discussion of Far Cry 2, like we enjoy games where the player is disempowered in interesting ways.
Yeah, like it has all the weird details that I think are really fun, but it also, I'm a person who, I like Far Cry 2, but I have open world paralysis to the max, like paralysis of choice. When the game just says, do whatever the fuck you want, I say, I don't know what I want to do. So this game gives me a reasonably structured space, but then it also says if you trip and fall in the mud, you can press G to wipe the mud off your mask. And I'm like, yes! You can pick up air filters and change them because you have a wristwatch which is counting down to when you run out of the ability to filter air. Like, it's got all that stuff going.
That kind of modeling of like individual human scale actions, that's the stuff that like Stalker doesn't. Well, in Stalker's case, that would just be handled through like a menu or like a grid inventory or like, you know what I mean? Something super abstracted. But like the human element in Stalker comes out in like the broader systemized interaction, like in the encounters you have with other people who are actual AI characters, and like that stuff's really affecting. In this game, the human scale stuff comes out literally by like modeling you wiping the shit off your face.
And it passes the key test of is this a game made by simulation dorks or is this a game made by game dorks, which is pressing R to reload makes your guy drop the entire magazine onto the ground and you lose all of the bullets.
This is one of those things that I love, but it ruins me.
You know what weans you off it quick?
I will never get over it.
You know what weans you off it quick? Picking up an assault rifle off of a guard that you have never picked up any ammunition type for, dropping 2 rounds into a guy, and then a big warning coming up saying press R to reload with military-grade ammunition, and you press R habitually, and then your guy just drops $30 into that gun, and you're like, fuck, okay, I guess that I've now just spent a third of my remaining income because I tapped R on a new gun that I found.
Yeah.
Kill me.
Yeah.
Never mind, I'll just put these into the face of a weird monster, I guess. But like, that was kind of when I stopped playing. I was the first time that I realized that I had just literally emptied my wallet into a gun accidentally by pressing R. But
You know what's funny? Sorry, I want to go back to Metro 2033 a little bit, just because I don't. This game seems to, I guess, because it's a sequel, this game seems to get into the crazy high concept stuff a lot faster than 2033.
Okay.
I remember 2033 starting.
That's what I was wondering
a lot
about.
more grounded than this game does. Where
Yeah.
instantly it's like crazy supernatural
Aliens
shit, which is
and-
like
yeah.
not my favorite, but whatever.
I think it's like 30 minutes into 2033 before like the crazy bat thing starts swooping in.
That actually
But
made me
those
where
are
I
like-
stopped playing. I vividly remember playing that far and then
Yeah.
going like,
Yeah,
But, yeah.
so you're definitely right about that. But like in Last Light, there's even more it's way wackier.
In
even.
Last Life, you're the chosen one who can talk to the weird alien, mutant, hybrid
Yeah.
things that live up
Oh,
on the
okay.
surface.
It's pretty goofy.
And like
It's
a military commander says, you're the only one who can do this, and you get kicked up onto the surface.
Yeah, it's pretty absurd.
I did like
But-
the lack of like cold open in 2033. I thought was a strong part
I
of
wish that had been. I prefer that to Last Light, where there's like tons of front-loaded exposition stuff,
Yeah.
tons and tons of it. But anyway, the thing I wanted to say about 20, I don't actually so much mind, like Nick, to your point, like I don't so much mind the kind of existence of goofy monsters and stuff in this game in general, because I feel like it's more honest. Like I don't know, I feel like I've been playing so many first-person shooters lately that have ambitions that are so like specific and grandiose, but then like you're just wasting human beings left and right, and like it's kind of
like
it's
for
kind
example.
of gross. Like any of them, like any game, like
Well, I'm trying to, obviously all games are wasting dudes, but what games do you feel have
like,
these grandiose ambitions?
two big ones recently, I guess, were like Nick and I were just talking about it last night.
I mean, I always feel like Uncharted is a
Well,
sterling
Uncharted-
example
yeah.
of like, here's your wisecracking, likable adventurer who is also a mass fucking murderer.
Right. Yeah, Uncharted is like a pretty classic example for me. And Spec Ops like
oh yeah.
has totally different aims than Uncharted does, but like I still found it was like just exemplary of a lot of the things that it acts like it wants to indict, which is like I don't know how
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know how much I go in for that, but anyway, it doesn't matter. What this is besides what I want, the point of what I wanted to talk about. Like I don't in a game like Metro where the whole thing is just about like fucked up desperation. Like I don't so much mind when there's like wacky monsters in it because it's
that's
just
fine,
like
yeah.
the whole thing is just about survival against just completely unstoppable force, and it's kind of just a well, we're all just fucked, and this is just the like medium through which that is being expressed. I mean, by which I mean crazy monsters.
Yeah.
But anyway, the thing I wanted to bring up about 2033 was that I had such a specific, interesting experience with that game, and I don't think there's anything about it that, well, I don't think that's the only game I could have had this experience in, but it's the only time I've ever played a game where I stopped playing it before it was over and felt like it ended in a 100% satisfying way. Like usually I just stop playing a game before it's over because I just don't load it up anymore. I just kind of done. I just
Forget.
Yeah, like
A week passes and you're like, I'm playing something else now.
like I've played 5 or 6 or whatever hours of this, and it's like it's pretty much just I guess I can play another like 12 hours of it. It's probably not going to be that different, right? Like I mean, that's just how most games are for the most part. Like they're pretty repetitive. But I remember I had a specific experience in 2033 that I'm sure I talked about like 70 episodes ago on Idle Thumbs, and so I'm sorry for those 3 people who are going to remember this. But
I had the cliff notes.
yeah, and I was exploring an area, like I was coming out of a
What were you
ramp.
doing?
I was exploring an area, navigating through this maze, and I emerged out onto the surface, and
So I was exploring an area and I emerged.
yeah, and it has a lot of the same systems that the new game does, where you have oxygen that runs out, and you have to replace the filter in your gas mask so that you can continue. Because your filter gets all gunked up and shitty, and like you need to. That's not oxygen, I guess. It's just clean filters, so you're able to filter the air and breathe. And it has the thing with ammunition, where your high quality ammunition is also the currency system in the world. And I remember I was in a situation where I was trying to track down, I think, a particular enemy, as opposed to just like kill all the guys in the area. I was just getting my ass kicked. Like this, it was one of those large imposing enemies that that like kind of does the thing that in a lot of video games where it kind of winks out and then you have to, find it, like, track it down again, like, and do a little more damage to it, and then it'll get away, and you're like, so so it was very tense, and my air filter was degrading, and I was running low on my shitty ammunition, and it just kept escalating. It was to the point where I'm like, oh fuck, I gotta switch to like good ammo. Like I'm down. I really hope this guy's almost dead because I'm really in trouble here. And I was down to my last air filter, and I'm like,
die?
Yeah, and I was.
Oh,
and
you
I
just left it there? Oh, that's great. That's really good.
Anyway, that's the end of the story. Thanks, Nick. I was going to describe the actual thing that happened. I don't know what the hell that was about. I mean, totally anticlimactic now. But like,
did you die? Yes.
Well, I mean, to be fair, it was going to be anticlimactic anyway. So
it's true.
We cut to the quick.
But like, anyway, the God damn it, Nick. So I was.
We can make the story longer.
I was fighting this guy, and like, I mean, essentially, the thing that happened. The reason it was like interesting in the context of Metro 2033 specifically, and not just like any game, was that I knew that I had effectively a limited amount of time to kill this guy. Like, not because the game had like a globally ticking clock, but just because, eventually I'm going to run out of this ammunition, and I'm going to run out of clean air filters. And there was a moment where in the game, like, as your air filter starts to expire, your guy actually starts to breathe really heavily.
Right.
Your breathing gets labored. Like your perception starts to become poor. And my guy is like just on his last legs. I remember it was at the point where I basically couldn't control my guy anymore. I was just stumbling, and it was terrible. And then the crazy enemy just suddenly materializes in front of me and like screams, and I'm like, oh my God. And I'm just, everything about my character in this world is just fucked completely. It's like no clean air, no ammo, huge crazy monster pops up in front of him, and it could not have been more over. Like, there was no version of this where I was in a worse position than this character was in a worse position than he was right then. And I just died.
The ending the game over cutscene.
Yeah, that's a good comparison because unlike in most games where like that is the one-time cutscene or like the death cutscene, this is just the stuff that happens because you're low on oxygen, and like you just start going through these things. And theoretically, if I had slammed a new oxygen thing in there, I would have recovered and been fine. But like just systemically, because of all this confluence of events, like I just reached this overwhelming point of disaster. And my vision was already darkening, so it was like out of the last light. Oh man, that my out of the final moments of my guy's sort of blurring vision, this crazy monster appears, and then it's over, and I'm like, wow.
Yeah, I mean that's like why you play games, right?
Yeah.
Like that's what you described here, the narrative of that experience.
Yeah.
The non-scripted thing that still like feels like so cinematic and so just like, just thematically perfect for the situation and the character and just, the whole setting. Like, I could at similar length, I could describe, a Far Cry 3 scenario where, I was just, driving my Jeep down the road and I saw a guy on the side of the road.
Just say Far Cry 2.
So I tried to run him over.
You're on idle thumbs. Just, you can say the same story, but just put a 2 in there.
So I tried to run this guy over, but I missed. And then I look in my rear view and him and his buddy jump into a Jeep and they're tracking behind me. And so I'm like, oh shit, they're catching up with me. And then I, like, in one fluid motion, I slam on the brakes in my Jeep, spin it sideways, jump out of the Jeep, so it is still like kind of sliding forwards behind me as I'm jumping out of the Jeep and pulling out a rocket launcher and like just nailing this rocket launcher like right at the front of the Jeep. As it's like 10 feet in front of me, it goes spinning like a burning wreck over my head as, one of the guy's bodies then like flies to the side, and it's just it looks as awesome and perfect as any cutscene that you would actually script, but it was just a thing that happened. Like those moments, like that's like one of the great reasons to play games.
No, totally.
If all the systemic stuff is in place, that no one planned for it, but they set the table just so, and it all comes together, and it's magic, right? Like that's that magical experience that feels like it couldn't have happened any other way, but it only happened to you.
Right. And I remember the game it was like I died and I got the thing that was like continue from last checkpoint, and I was just like nope, Alt F4 like that, and not because I was like
not out of like
didn't like the game, but it was
like that guy's life is complete.
Was just like wow, that was way cool. Like that was just what happened this time. Like the world was not saved, or like whatever you're trying to achieve was not achieved. Like this is now a tragedy entirely, and that's just it. And it was so effective that I was just done, and I didn't play that game anymore. Yeah. And I was really happy with the amount of time. It kept it from overstaying its welcome, which is what happens with like almost every kind of campaign-driven video game for me. Or just eventually I just stopped playing because I'm kind of burned out. This game just had such a perfect thematic conclusion.
Am I going to ruin this by transitioning to talk about lens flares? I think that I am going to
Please
ruin
do.
this by talking about lens flares.
But man, those lens flares.
Do you want to talk about skyboxes?
No, I don't care about skyboxes.
Fuck you! I want to talk about skyboxes.
We can talk again. We can talk. I didn't notice any skyboxes.
I hear next generation skyboxes are going to be fucking sick.
Next generation skyboxes are actually going to be video captures of yourself, your face.
I am the skybox. Is that what you're saying?
That actually, it's always the best thing in game development when, and this only happens in the Telltale engine occasionally, but I feel like I've seen images of this happening in other places where, for some weird reason, the game engine decides that the texture that is on the skybox should instead just be the last texture that it happened to load. so a main character's fucking face is just the entire sky of
I have
level.
not encountered that.
Oh, that happened. There was a brief period of time in like around 0809 in Telltale where for some reason our skybox stuff
might have
just
something to do with just
insane.
the order that your engine by default loads textures?
I don't know what it was. It was
funny.
Maybe it was, who knows? It was the best. So that's my Skydome talk, or Skybox.
So anyway.
Skydome.
But lens flares.
They're round in the Telltale engine, so I always call them a dome. Sorry. The fucking lens flares in Metro Last Light are good. That's But what it speaks to me is the attention to detail in that game that's crazy. I took 2 Steam screenshots in my playthrough, and one of them was of a control panel, and one of them was looking at 2 lights in a subway.
Yeah.
I feel really bad about it. But I didn't play either of the Witcher games. I didn't really play the Stalker games. I haven't played much beyond the first Crysis game, so I've sort of been out of the loop on weird European PC game scene. So to be playing this game, it is kind of the ultimate game. I don't mean
IGN.com.
I don't mean mechanically. I mean like it looks like a fucking video game. You're in a cave surrounded by beefy Marines
I was thinking,
who hand you guns.
Yeah.
And then you go up onto the surface and it's a wrecked post-apocalyptic wasteland and fucking monsters show up at you.
That's true.
But it's executing all of those things better than anyone does, and that's why it doesn't bother me at all. Like, it does not care about the fact that it's a game.
It treats its ridiculous reality with as much gravitas as something more serious and grounded.
Right, but it's weird because it's doing all the ridiculous things where someone's like, I'm pairing you up with our best sniper. And you're like, okay, fine, you're pairing me up with the best sniper. But at the same time, that stuff coupled with this weird sort of depressed, muted feeling makes it not feel ostentatious. Like,
no, I agree. That's the difference between that and Call of Duty or something.
The thing
it's like
that
a Michael Mann movie versus a Michael Bay movie.
The thing that I was hoping that you guys would get to, and I don't want to talk about it much, but I will spoil
I'll play more this week.
a tiny moment of it. And okay. There's weird... You got hit in the head by the German contingent, Chris, when you were playing, and that's about where you stopped, right? Mm-hmm. Those guys are basically... That faction is basically... It seems like they grew out of a neo-Nazi movement.
Yeah, right.
Which is weird because there's a portion about 40 minutes into the game or so where you have to push your way through like a rally, and like there's crazy prisons and effectively concentration camp stuff going on in this game, and it's handled in a very different way than other recent racist imagery was handled, and I want to hear what you guys think about it. Also, just anyone who plays the game, I'm really curious to hear about it, because I noticed it and I sort of raised an eyebrow at some stuff, but like it was odd because the game didn't seem to care that it was what was happening, but it was very overtly a choice that was made in development. It's odd.
I guess not to speak too specifically about this, as I haven't seen it myself, but would you say that it felt informed by that Eastern European cultural perspective?
I don't know. I don't have enough thinking about it yet, because it's like there are things in it that I can't tell. Are they deliberately characters within it feeling informed about, like, is it... There are characters in it who have very strong opinions about what's going on, and there are also characters who are basically racist to each other all over the place because of this stuff. And how much of that is self-aware, how much of it is someone thinking that it's kind of funny, I can't really quite tell where people are coming from with the writing, but it's dealt with in such a matter-of-fact way compared to the really sort of... It was used basically for bombast in BioShock Infinite, where it was just, can you imagine how crazy this is? Whereas in this, it was like, okay, this is just what's fucking happening because everything is shit. And it was
interesting.
I don't have enough thoughts on it. Like, it's also super cheesy and just kind of garbage, super bad, not well done, whatever. But it's also just inside of the tone and mechanic of this game. It's a very interesting experience, especially given that it's the second time that I've run into overt racism in a really expensive first-person game in 2013. It's really weird. We can talk about it more later.
Well, that's interesting because like you talk about the way racism or whatever is presented in BioShock Infinite, and it is like it's this kind of philosophical abstract of like a college thesis on what's racism like versus
it's heavily telegraphed.
But it's also like it's very deliberately playing on kind of broad archetypes, like they're taking a situation and much like with the rest of BioShock, kind of writ large of just like let's take the stereotype, the archetype, and then make it as extreme as possible. Whereas there is
it's weird because
real history with Germany and Russia,
but I don't think it's handled I don't know if it's handled intelligently enough to just go and give massive, like, it's not it's also not like a subtle treatise on racism. It is just people going,
which one are you talking about right now?
Metro. It's still, I mean, it's a jackboot stomping on your face, saying Guten Morgen, and then people saying fucking Nazis. So, it's still ridiculous. But at the same time, it's weird to be in a first-person game pushing through a neo-Nazi race rally. It's a very different experience just because of the nouns used than it being Comstock and Vox Populi. Like, it's there's just weird, there is weird real history, but it's still in an insane game where you're fighting monsters and you're the chosen one. And, like, it's... It just felt very different, but I don't know if it felt better. And I'm curious as to what people think. But anyway, that aside, I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore. It's
flares.
Did you ever?
It's such a weird and refreshing game for me to be playing because it's reminding me of so many things that I like that I haven't been experiencing lately. Just that combination of super high cutting edge aesthetic, being in a space with a ton of characters, but also feeling directed, but then also having enough systemic stuff inside of it that I feel like I'm in control of what I'm doing and I'm not literally just walking down a corridor, even though I probably am. Yeah. It's very odd. It's different from Dishonored, it's different from Half-Life, it's different from BioShock, but it still falls in that school, but it's in a place that hits all, like, a lot of my personal first-person sweet spots, and now I kind of want to just go back and play 2033. Except that I'm so, like, ensorcelled by the high-end fidelity of this game that I think that I'll be annoyed going back now. Like,
I mean, I definitely haven't played enough of it to have an opinion on it. Like, it was strange to play because it really is the first game I've played in a while that is, like, as you were saying earlier, that is this much of just an unrepentant video game. Like, just in, like, not in the sense of, like, oh, it's trying to be another thing, but it's secretly just another video game. It's like, this really is... just way up front. Like, it feels like a mid-generation Xbox 360 game. Like, I can't... like Quake 4 or like... or like Singularity. That specific kind of game where the people are rendered to, like, the highest possible degree they were when the thing came out. But everything is, like, subdued and muted.
Yeah,
and
all of the tone inside of this game, no one is in your face. Everyone speaks very quietly.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, I remember you and I think Steve Gaynor said, if you're going to play this, play it in Russian.
That's how I felt about the first one. Yeah,
2033.
totally. Yeah.
Did the English actors in the first game have hilarious Russian accents like they do in this game?
I honestly can't remember.
Because it's really enjoyable that everyone just sounds like the heavy.
Yeah,
In Last Light.
I believe they did.
Okay.
And I had actually heard that same piece of advice from Craig Savin from Supergiant, who is Russian, and he highly recommends
I'm
that,
sure
to play
the
that
VO
game.
is way better in the native language of the studio. I
Yeah.
just started playing
I got to
in
enable
English.
that. I forgot to do that.
I don't know if I'm going to switch at this point just because it almost feels at home to me that everything is slightly cheesy.
It's almost campy. Like
This is maybe okay, but
a little more Golden
Totally
Globus.
consistent.
yeah, I can't decide. I can't decide if I want to pretend that it's real or not.
Yeah.
But it's at a point right now where I'm just enjoying what I've played so much that now that I've talked it up on the podcast, I'm probably going to find myself incredibly frustrated when I play more. But I really want to play more. Like I don't know enough about what this game is because I've only played the first hour, which was so heavily guided that it's hard to know how much it lets up. Like, are characters really going to keep having this much dynamic seeming conversation and this density of interaction that's in the first hour later on? Probably not. But
I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I definitely am curious to play more of it, but there's like a version of the game that this might be that is like I will be bummed out if it is. You know, starting off with all of the like your chosen one shit. Like when I play this game, all the stuff that's actually interesting to me is the stuff that's really pulled back and really muted, and like moving through a space and just overhearing conversations, and like or moving through an environment and it just being really sparse and like. When an enemy or a group of enemies comes out, it's like surprising and startling, and you kill them and whatever. But I'm concerned that what I'm going to end up happening is like just as is the case in games like this, often just over the course of the game, the like time between ridiculous exposition dump just decreases and decreases and decreases. You know, until by the end of the game, it's just like a 100% linear lore crap fest about how you're the chosen one. Like. I'm obviously declaring a lot of things that I have no idea if they're true or not. That's just like I've played so many games that start off with like these little seeds of exposition and then end up becoming that. But I don't know. There's probably people who've listened to this who've already played all the way through it who are like, "Shut up! You're an idiot! Stop it!"
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna play more of it and we'll find out.
This is my last stupid out of context detail about this game, but the wristwatch that you have.
Oh god, that stuff is so good.
You have a wristwatch. It's like a little Nixie tube watch that shows how many minutes of air you have left before you have to change your filter when you're on the surface. But the other thing that it has, thank fucking god, modern stealth game thing, is it has a little blue light on it that knows if you're in a dark enough light level that you can't be seen by people. So when you're playing the stealth moments, which is there's a pretty early beat that's the sort of the introduction to guard, takedown, sneak through a place, and I was playing on regular game mode, normal difficulty. It's got all sorts of weird tiers, which we can talk about in a second if we really want to keep talking about this game. But I was playing on regular normal, and I have a little blue light on my watch, so I knew that if I was crouched in a corner in the dark, when the guard came by, he would actually not see me. And that, for me, is huge. That's what will allow me to actually complete this game, because my experience in organic stealth games and like pure
like
immersive
Dishonored or something.
in Dishonored and everything before it is, I'm like, I've got the sickest hiding spot. There he is. Like, fuck you. Like that's.
I don't understand how we are like 10 years past the release of Chronicles of Riddick, which had like the best like first-person stealth systems. Like the way that it conveyed that information to the player with like just color tone,
right?
Like just so minimalist and elegantly, I think, minimalist and elegance, maybe not the first things that people will associate with a Vin Diesel product, but the
well, that game was game was quite elegant.
Yeah, like that. It's amazing to me that still like people haven't just said, "Oh, that's how this is done. Let's just do that." But they continue to fumble like that. It's impressive that Metro can.
I think it's because the
handle that.
The straight PC immersive sim sort of group, the general sort of thinking on that is the more of that that's left up to you to discern for yourself, the better a game it is. The less UI that's on screen, the less messaging that's happening, the more you can just discern from. From my experience, I'm behind cover enough that a guard shows up, and if a guard doesn't show up, it's because I played the game wrong, and that's a really hardcore attitude. But that I think is the immersive sim attitude. That's the Deus Ex Thief, Dishonored mode. I mean, maybe I'm wrong on that, but that seems to be the case.
I don't know. I don't play simulations. I play games.
Whoa!
So
whoa! Whoa.
What?
You didn't like Dishonored?
What? No, it's a game though. It's a defined game, but it's a video game.
But you hide behind
What's it simulating?
It's simulating being a cool guy. You're a fucking cool guy in that.
Yeah. You're a cool guy.
You sneak around and watch guys.
It's funny.
It's a bitchy game.
No, you're sneaky man.
Actually, I'm in that game. I'm not sneaky man at all. I am.
You're slicey guy?
Stab everyone, man.
You're the opposite of
Stealth.
Chris, who is sit on a rooftop for 40 minutes and then at a flurry of a cape, he is gone and every guard is unconscious.
I when I first played that at E3 last year at the Bethesda booth, like, you know, I had the Bethesda, you know, representative next to me trying to like
was it Nick?
trying to tell you like trying to give you like, oh, so you play this way and, you know, be real stealthy. All right, there's gonna be a guard over here. I'm like, and it's just like sword out, just running through dudes. Like, well, you could maybe. I'm like, no, I'm just gonna blink over here and then I'm gonna stab that guy, and all the alarms are blaring the entire time. I'm like, no, I'm just gonna shoot that guy and then I'm gonna stab this guy. And
I mean, the game totally
running.
supports that.
The
And
thing
then
about that-
I, you know, took down. I mean, that was the thing that actually kind of impressed me about it was that all of that was as viable.
It's a violent playthrough, but at the same time, you still look like a boss. You just look like a Tarantino revenge film boss,
Right.
or like you do flip halfway across the room, kill a guy, and then before anyone sees the guy drop, you're somewhere else killing someone else. It's just fine. It's just different than you're chloroforming their face or whatever.
No, that's the. I mean, to me, that's the.
I mean, I think that was their core goal of that game, was to be able to support both of those equally.
Yeah, it definitely was.
Everyone always talks about that, like and you know, Dishonored had the, you know, the wheel of a billion abilities, and whenever I see stuff like that, I always go, you know, like that's always sounds like a really good idea, but in practice, I know I'm going to use roughly 3 of those things. Like, I'm going to find the things that work for me, and then.
But it's different things for you than for someone else,
right? I mean, that's the beauty of it is that it's in the case of Dishonored is that it is a different thing for everyone, but so often that's not the case. So often it's like there are 3 things that are going to be the best, and that's what people are just going to gravitate towards.
I'm sure that there are very hardcore Dishonored players who will happily tell me that I'm an idiot and that you're right and that there are 3 things that you should be playing with in Dishonored no matter what your playstyle is.
Possibly.
But whatever. Nick knows what they are.
You can't satisfy min-maxers. Like that's they're not
true.
they're playing a different game than anyone else.
Yeah.
No, it's true. I mean, I don't want to get into a big discussion about this because no one wants to hear about it. But like, just as a small funny thing, Nick and I have recently been watching Pro StarCraft II again. Like, we will actually hook up my laptop to our big TV in our living room and like
imagine plugging that into your HDMI pass-through.
And it's like, God, it's so fun. I really enjoy it. It's the dorkiest possible usage of time imaginable, but it's really fun. But it definitely has reminded me of one of the core kind of pseudo miracles of designing a game like StarCraft II, which is that the designers of that game have to be able to support both, or not just both, but like the entire spectrum, from the people we're watching on that screen who are doing things with a computer that I could spend the entire rest of my lifetime practicing it and still never be able to achieve. They also have to be able to support me and Nick playing 2v2 with other people and like balance the game so that it still holds up there. And then they have to support like just the kind of,
You have to support me.
Yeah.
like just the guy who's going to go on and play 1v1 without knowing anyone, like, and just kind of, the game has to pair him against someone of his level and provide a relatively decent experience, which it does. Like the matchmaking in that game is consistently amazing to me in terms of how much it does actually allow that equal experience. And like, we were watching some of that stuff recently, and I just can't even imagine having to being tasked with that as a design team of just like, your game has to work for all of these people, and it's got to be like competitive, and you've got to basically have it a 50-50 win-loss ratio regardless of like what, just, oh my God.
Yeah.
It's crazy. This is not specifically related to Dishonored, but it's just like pretty
directly related
it's the
to
most
Dishonored.
insane like extrapolation of that, where it's just like, support it all, do it, make it work.
The thing about Dishonored's stealth system, I mean, it had to take that into consideration. Like, there's so many factors in a stealth game that you could throw in there and be like, well, the guards can see this many feet, but then there's a conal representation of their eyesight, and then the shadows are in play, and you can layer all that stuff on top of it. But when you actually then hit just go and see what the simulation does that you've built, sometimes it just does really stupid stuff. And so, like, there was a moment, I think, where like some of that stuff had to be toned down and kind of stripped out just to make the game make sense from a player standpoint.
Right.
And so
At a certain point, you're fascinated by the situation, but you're actually just hating your life.
Exactly. I mean, you like early builds of Dishonored were just like AI just streaming in like thousands of dudes, like just because of like one stupid thing that you did. I mean,
one guard saw a pot roll and then
the whole
forever.
level just comes on top of you. I mean, like the difficulty just ramps up. When you have all of those layered things going on. So it is a really fine-tuned kind of development process.
Have you guys been following Prison Architect at all?
Oh, yeah. I've played a lot of that game. Yeah.
That game has that problem.
But
It's not really a problem with that game because it's hilarious.
I don't think it's a problem. I mean, obviously they're going through their alpha stages and stuff in development, and allowing people to play that stuff. Yeah. But
which is a really cool model.
It's fun when they like put out a new build and say like, by the way, this part is totally broken in this
the bugs
build
in that
right
game
now.
are so funny. Oh god, their Twitter account is great.
Yeah. It's if as a listener of this podcast, if you have not checked out Prison Architect, recommend it highly. So
It's really good.
there's a quick look on giantbomb.com.
Oh man,
Is there?
Here's
Do you know the URL?
giantbomb.com.
It's the only one that matters. That's all you need.
And then search for Prison Architect.
Who does that?
All right, go to google.com, type in Prison Architect Giant Bomb. And
Do it now.
Type in let
We've
me
got to
Google
quickly
that
try
for
to
you.
up one up on the SEO for that phrase.
Question mark equals giant plus bomb.
And I want you to go to
plus.
Bing, and I want you to go to Yahoo, and I want you to do the same thing there.
Go to Google, search for Bing, go to the
There it
first
is.
link, search for mama.com, go to the first link there, search
So you got to go to the
for-
first sponsored link there.
Right, yeah.
Not the first natural.
Yeah. Go to
response.
Alta Vista, search for Giant Bomb.
Go to babelfish.altavista.com.
Oh, God. Classic.
That's right. Bringing back
And then
the
type
Hades.
google.fr into that. It will get confused.
Go to
Then type-
dogpile.com.
Go to Ask Jeeves.
Search for Giant Bomb. You'll be presented with the search results from the top 8 search providers. Do you guys remember Dogpile? It would search
Yeah.
like 20 search engines for
the
you.
internet?
God, remember when
in
the
the
internet
day.
was like in 1997?
I actually remember when my dad first showed me Dogpile, and it was mind blowing.
Oh, man.
It was like, holy shit.
Those tables have surely turned.
He has outdone me.
Cool, Dad. And then you used it once and said, Google is fine, actually.
No, that's before Google.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was
Google.
I was
That
only
was
shown
totally
Dogpile
pre-Google.
in a post-Google world and said, that's nice.
Oh, well, then, yeah. That's
It was also my dad who showed me it.
Wait, seriously?
far less impressive.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Dads love
Dads love
Dogpile.
Dogpile.
No love for
Turns
dogs.
out.
Dog, fuck off. Man,
I know. Yeah.
sorry. What?
Hand
No, we can't
gestures
explain
just
this.
going.
We talking about Call of Duty Ghost, Call of Duty Ghost Dad, Call of Duty No Love for Ghost Dad. That was the chain that happened today.
Yeah.
Should we stop talking for a minute?
probably
and then,
should.
And then read a reader mail
We should do
maybe,
reader
and then
mail
be
like
done
that.
forever?
Yeah.
We should.
We're already kind of over.
We are over. I want to make Ryan answer a reader mail question.
All right.
Okay.
Let's do it right now then.
Let's do one.
Let's not even stop.
We're not
Let's
even
just-
going
Man,
away.
we're gonna roll into
Great.
reader mail.
Let's do it live. I'm into it.
Cool.
Let's just wait for Chris to find this reader mail here.
Yeah.
All right, let's see here.
Giantbomb.com. So make the most out of this appearance.
Yeah,
man.
we had Patrick on and we had Brad on, and neither of them plugged Giant Bomb repeatedly.
See, this is why I got to show up.
Yeah.
They're ashamed if they're Giant Bomb.
See, they have some value. They feel like there is some sort of, cool guy cred to be had here.
No.
I know better.
No.
I know this IKEA table.
That's right.
I worked on this IKEA table. Not this one specifically, but
So you know,
Giant Bomb was
spirit.
built on these
Yeah.
tables.
All right, Evan
Quite
from
literally.
one day will be owned by CBSI.
Fingers crossed.
Evan from Cockeysville, Maryland says, question, I know someone who played through the entirety of Bioshock Infinite thinking that the Wounded Knee Massacre was a made-up battle and a fun reference to the arrow in the knee line in Skyrim.
God, I heard about this.
He also didn't know what the Pinkertons were. So much about the character is explained and tinted by his history with real-world atrocities that I can't imagine what the game would have been like for him. Have you ever had a similar experience where you've subsequently learned something that fundamentally changed your appreciation of a game or some other work? Related to that, do you think the enhanced emotional response that comes from actually knowing those real-world historical events is worth the risk that people just won't know enough about them to react appropriately? Thanks, Evan from Cockeysville, Maryland.
First, that's an interesting question, but a disclaimer to last week. We all did know that Tammany Hall was based on actual
Yeah, we
historic
got
events.
accused
A couple
of
people were like,
thinking
did you think this was fictional? No, Tammany Hall is
Yeah.
real. Anyway.
We made many Boss Tweed jokes
Yeah, so
while
anyway,
playing
sorry
Tammany
about that,
Hall.
everyone, if we were idiots, if we sounded like idiots. But anyway, that is really interesting.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's definitely worth the risk. I mean, I think as soon as you incorporate that kind of thing, it definitely is incumbent on you as a creator to treat it with a pretty high level of respect and thoughtfulness. But I don't think you should shy away simply because someone might not have heard of a thing before.
Like Custer's Revenge would have lost a lot of its punch if it was just Indian rapey guy.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah.
Good example. Yeah, I can't really think of an example of that. But
I think I will defer to the Cards Against Humanity philosophy when it comes to this stuff.
Where is this going?
Which is that that a real world reference like that should work whether you know it or not. It should, if you get the specific reference, it should be able to enhance the experience. But if you don't get it, it shouldn't be a negative.
It shouldn't be a negative is fine, but it shouldn't.
It shouldn't be replaceable, right? Like it shouldn't just be like any old massacre would work here, right? Because then that's like
no, but
because then you're implying like.
But I think if you are
like Wounded Knee and Infinite, you have to be able to at least understand this was a weird racially motivated event, even if you don't know the history of it inside of the game.
I think you would get that though,
and you would probably pick that up.
See, I think that they play that enough just because they're honestly, fucking extremely heavy-handed racial imagery throughout that. That I don't know the specifics of how, or I didn't know the specifics of how Wounded Knee played out before playing BioShock Infinite.
Comstock kicked everyone's butt,
but enough context is given over the course that even if you went in not knowing exactly how Wounded Knee played out, you had it by the end. So that the Cards Against Humanity
I mean, that's definitely like putting it that way makes me feel like it's then incumbent on you to be even more careful as a creator, right? Because if you might be the thing that is someone's first like point of contact or point of reference for this thing, it's almost even more important that you do it well. I mean, Cards Against Humanity is, I think, is a little different because that is so like clearly. I mean, like Cards Against Humanity is so like absurd and so glancing, like right, like it'll pull in anything for a split second and then toss it off again. Like it's just the most.
But it's one of those things where it's like if
like a reference to tossing
it has to it has to be like absurdly funny on its own. Like just as a combination of words, it just has to be there has to be some sort of silliness that you can derive out of that without getting the key reference.
If you don't get it in its specifics, it's at least interesting in what it is.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that's totally fair.
I think that the risk of someone not getting it is absolutely not an excuse for not going for the specifics, though, because the specificity of a person's real life and of the actual history that exists in the real world can put so much into a thing that you make. Like if you make, and that's part of why things that just fly entirely off into their own lore and into their own, like, I mean, we've talked about this before in a really negative way, which I think is kind of fair. But when you end up getting into the sci-fi trap of saying, I would never put a human being in this story because humans are boring and only cool aliens are cool, I think you're leaving you're leaving the entirety of human existence on off the table at that point. Yeah. And that's where genericizing or inventing your own world to the point that you throw away meaning that everyone just carries with them is sad. And that it is.
I agree.
It is why it's kind of cool that Infinite has that stuff in it. It's frustrating that it's presented in a context that someone could misread it, but people can misread. People are going to misread fucking everything. So
that's true.
Yeah.
You can't think about that too much because you won't make anything.
You'll hedge your bet to the point that you're not that you make a hedge.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think of any specific cases for myself with that.
I'm sure I had that when I was a kid, like all the time, and I just can't. I mean, I don't.
It's a kind of more where you don't get it, or where like you.
Well, I mean, I'm sure there were tons of things I saw in like
all of the pop culture references in old LucasArts adventure games. I did not know any of them as a kid, and then I finally went back and I was like, oh, that's a pirate named Bart and a pirate named Fink. It's a Bart and Fink reference, but like the real life giving meaning to games is the obvious cheesiest example of it is in all strategy games.
Yeah, I was
Like when you're playing Civ and a crazy thing happens that actually replicates kind of real world events, and then your brain can project out, oh my god, this is just like this, and this, and then that actually happens.
Yeah.
That's why sim games are cool, right? I mean, or at least one of the reasons why they can be cool.
Yeah.
When
you run into the same thing with
when
with
suddenly
something
the Cuban Missile Crisis emerges out of your game, you're excited.
You run into that with Total War because that is just setting the pieces at a certain era and then letting it go, and often they'll just result in the same events. Which is
like Paradox games are kind of like that. Even more so, I suppose.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
But I guess they're more engineered to be that way explicitly.
Mm-hmm.
Total War is kind of in between.
Yep. Yeah, Hearts of Iron is just playing out World War II.
Right.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's all sorts of shit in the Leisure Suit Larry games that I wasn't supposed to be playing.
As
a youth.
All kinds of those adventure games in general. Like, I mean, LucasArts one, but also the Sierra ones. Like, I played a bunch of that stuff, and there were so many just passing references that I could tell were to things, and I just didn't know.
Remember what the age gate?
Oh yeah, it was all old person
Right,
shit.
like a reference to the Farrah Fawcett poster or something like that.
Right.
Yeah,
it was like Sam Shepard, like playwright references. And
it was all things that
Weird.
only an old person is going
like
to
your
know this.
your parents would know these things.
Yes.
Yeah. That is possibly one of the funniest jokes in those games. Like, that is so goddamn funny.
But those games all do pass the test of they're still completely interesting, and you still understand enough of the context of those things that show up to enjoy the content.
Right.
But
it's different than something like BioShock Infinite because it's not using them as fundamental
they're not dependent
linchpins
on like the emotional resonance of those real world events.
It's like bonus content for your brain, basically. Yeah.
That's right. That Apple Newton gag, wasn't the emotional center of Leisure Suit Larry 4 or whatever.
Yeah. Man,
but in
Apple
hindsight,
Newton.
it is.
Turns out, very, very prescient. Who knew?
Yeah.
That we'd all be using Apple Newtons in 2013.
We're effectively using Apple Newtons.
Yeah, we are effectively.
Yeah, we basically are.
There are 4 iPhones in this room, all of which can illegally play Leisure Suit Larry.
Can it? Shit.
You have to jailbreak it.
What am I doing here, man?
All right, we're going to call this podcast so we can all go download Leisure Suit Larry for our telephones.
The future, gentlemen. Welcome to it.
All right, thanks for coming by, man.
Hey, thank you guys for having me on. Once again, I'm Ryan Davis from GiantBomb.net.
Also, ignoring anything related to Giant Bomb, if you like the Idle Thumbs podcast, please review us on iTunes, and maybe one day we'll get near the Giant Bombcast on iTunes.
Oh, yeah, and thanks to everyone who wrote us in saying they would buy our vinyl record.
Oh, yeah.
That was very nice of you to say, so we're going to make that pretty soon. We've been working on actually getting a store kind of designed.
Yeah.
So that's something that we're hoping to launch.
That's happening concurrently with us getting the records manufactured to Kickstarter backers. So thanks.
More on that soon.
Yep.
Lots of stuff.
Internet.
Write us at questions@idlethumbs.net.
Visit giantbomb.com for more Idle Thumbs.
Giantbomb.com.
Visit giantbomb.com/wizard for probably
for
some
10% off.
fucking joke thing that they set up separately. God damn it. Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Giantbomb.net